Hello and welcome back to our reviews of Scalextric cars from the 1990s. As with all of our reviews, we'll first of all have a quick chat about the one-to-one car, then we'll look in more detail at our Scalextric car, and then we will take it to our racing track and see how well it performs. So today's car is the Jaguar XJ220. From a Scalextric perspective, there were two main cars released. There was this one, which formed part of the set of the Mega Sound Jaguar Challenge. And then there was a car released later on in 1994, which was the number 50 car, which was actually based on the XJ220s that raced at Le Mans in 1993. So in keeping with Scalextric, if you've seen my other reviews, in keeping with Scalextric's sort of release pattern, they tend to take a year to release a car. Based on the car being successful, they then go off and model it, create it, and then release it and sell it to us, the general public. So in 1993, when these cars raced at Le Mans, they did very well. They were successful. However, when they were scrutineered, it was found that they weren't running their catalytic converters, and that was a requirement of the race spec standards for that year at Le Mans, and therefore the Jaguars themselves got disqualified. Now, interestingly, the XJ220 comes from the fact that the car itself was supposed to do 220 miles an hour. This is the road-going car. However, the only way that the Jaguar team were able to get the car anywhere near 220 miles an hour, which was 217, was by removing the catalytic converter. So I guess it's no surprise that when they entered them in Le Mans, they thought, well, we need these to go as fast as possible, so they didn't include the catalytic converters. So a slightly checkered past of Jaguar, but we're more interested in this Scalextric release and how well it has been modelled. So without further ado, we'll bring the camera over, get some close-up detailed of shots of what the car itself looks like, and then we'll take the body off, look at the chassis and see any interesting features that we may find there. Okay, see you in a minute. Hello, welcome back. So let's have a look at this car. The first thing that grabs you when you look at this is looking through the rear window, you can see the engine detailing. A really nice feature there by Scalextric. If we look at the rest of the car, this has got a metallic blue finish, which is quite nice, and it also has a number of decals. Now, again, this isn't based on a race car, so there's nothing that I can go and look at to see how accurate the decaling is. But what I will say is I really like this front window decal. That's really nice. I think the number 11 could have done with being a bit bigger, a bit different, but you know, it is what it is. It makes it feel like it's a bit of a race car. If we look down the side, we've got the Farcom decal down there. You've got the Champion decal, the number, and slightly on top you've got the Girling, all of which are okay. There's nothing particularly wrong with it. At the back we have Bridgestone, and at the very rear we have this lovely Jaguar decal. So again, I really like that Jaguar decal. I really like that front window decal as well. They're really good. In terms of how the body itself has been modelled, we do have a petrol cap here. We have lovely windows. I really like the way that they've split these up into 4 different windows. That's a beautiful bit of detailing there as well, if you ask me. Scoops in the bonnet. You've got the front lights have been reflected. At the very front, we have actually got running lights. We'll see those a bit later on the track and when we look at the chassis in a bit more detail. And indeed at the back, we have both a running light, rear light and a brake light. So we'll see that a bit later as well. Underneath, we've got our diffuser, air diffuser handles the air. We've got the wishbones that have been put on there, and we've also got our exhaust pipes as well. So I'd like to bring our attention now to the front of the car. We have a new guide. This is called by Scalextric the Easy Fit Guide, EASI-Fit Guide. So I can just pull it off. That's how it's designed to be taken off. And then what happens is we've got these 2 electrical pickups. These are kind of sprung pickups that take the power from the guide into the car itself. And if I look at the older guide, here it is, we can see a few things. First of all, the guides are both the same length, so there's no benefit to us there, and they're both the same depth. So there's no real benefit to us there in terms of performance and handling. Would have been good, I think, if Scalextric had taken the opportunity to make it either a bit longer or a bit deeper. I think the problem being is that the classic track is restricted in depth, and so maybe if we'd have gone deeper with this guide, it would have started hitting the bottom of that track. With regard to the braid itself, in the old days we had pickups there were a couple of pins that we pushed down inside these two areas here and here, and that allowed the electricity to flow from the track into the car. In this case, as I say, we've got these electrical contacts on the bottom here, and then they touch the top of the braid here and here and take the electricity from the track into the car. With regard to the braid, if I just peel that back, there's a very nice gap here, channel here, to allow this part of the braid to sit flat. And so now when I push this part back, this top braid now is as flat as it can be against that braid, which means that the car itself can sit lower, lowering the center of gravity. And then the last thing we'll make a note on is that this is recessed. So as I push that in, the part of the guide itself is now sitting in this recess. So again, that allows us to lower the center of gravity even further. If you remember with our older Scalextric cars, they sat very high with a big gap underneath the front wheels. So a very high center of gravity compared to these newer cars. And in theory, that should help us to get better performance out of the car. Before I take the body off, let's have a look at the car, and let's have a look at how much magnetic pull we've got. So I'm also interested to weigh this because I can feel it's very heavy. So stick it on the scales, 97.1 grams. Now I press tear to zero that back. Come on. And now I can measure the amount of downforce that magnet's giving me. So the magnet's just sat in front of the wheels, so I'm going to put that on there like that. That's not going on there. There we go. There we go. There we go. That goes on there like that. And we can see, let me just get that in the right place. We have 16 grams of downforce. So this is in the 15 to 20 gram range. Our previous Jaguar XJ8, or the XJR9 as I like to call it, had 30 to 35 grams of downforce. So we are much less downforce from our magnet with this car, and we'll see how that affects its performance. So we remove the body. There are 4 screws that hold the body on, 2 at the front, one at the front, 1 at the back, and then 1 either side. Then the interior just literally falls out. Interestingly enough, before we do that, we've got a couple of clips here, clips. We've got a couple of posts here and a couple of posts here and here. The windscreen goes up to that post. This gap here is for the cockpit. So, and again, the round holes here and here and here, they clip over those posts, or they go over those posts to hold it in. Interestingly, we've got a co-driver, and the co-driver is gripping a something. If it's a map, well, it's a bit strange because it's not a rally car. I think that maybe these are the rules for the 1993 Le Mans, and he's reading out and saying, have we got a catalytic converter? And he's saying, no, we haven't. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Anyway, we'll put that to one side. So, on to the interesting bit. In here, we have lights. Now, we saw lights previously with our Jaguar XJ8, but what we had in the Jaguar XJ8 was we had front lights that were powered continuously, and then we had this board which powered the brake lights. But in this car, what we have is we have a few interesting features. First of all, obviously we've got our electrical pickups. In order to get the power off the braids, we then have these electrical plugs. Hopefully you can see that plugged in there and that one plugged in there. That takes the power from the track to the motor tabs. The motor tabs then have a red wire and a white wire which run to our circuit board, which powers our circuit board. The power from the circuit board comes through to our front lights full time, but also comes through to these yellow rear lights full time as well. So there's a circuit board at the back with LED style lights, and there's both running lights, rear lights, and brake lights. So at the point at which we release our finger off the controller, then again, I'm not sure how this circuitry works, but my guess is that these 2 fully charged capacitors empty their charge into those rear lights, which flashes them on briefly, gets the charge down to 0 and turns them off again. That's my theory on all of this. I'm not 100% sure, but that's how I believe it works. This is a very advanced setup. I mean, you don't often see front lights, rear lights and brake lights on a car. You normally see front lights and brake lights, which is common, or just front lights and rear lights, but front lights, rear lights and brake lights, that's quite rare. Another change is that this circuit board here is clipped in, so that's held in securely by this black clip here, and then there's also a border here at the front which is stopping these two capacitors, I guess, from crashing into our power that we're getting off of our track. The front axle is loose, so again that flops around, so we're not going to get any support from that in cornering, and the rear axle clipped in the normal way that we've come to see with our bearings. And the last point I'll make is the width of this tyre. These are big tyres, these are very wide tyres. Now they are ribbed, they're not flat, they're not slicks, but I'm expecting them to give us a lot of grip to help this car go around the track. And indeed with its lower stance, its magnet, its grip, you know, even the weight actually, everything is pointing towards this being quite a good car. So that said, without further ado, let's go put this on the track and see exactly how well she performs. Hello and welcome back. The car is prepped and ready to go. I've treated the tyres. If you're interested in what I do to the tyres, there's a link in the description below that will take you to a video that shows you step-by-step guide of how to improve your lap times by treating your tyres correctly. Our previous car, the Jaguar XJ8, I call the XJR9, had a magnetic downforce of 30 to 35 grams and gave us a lap time of 6.51. This car, if you remember, has a downforce of 15 to 20 grams, so much less, almost half what we had previously. However, it's got width on its side, it's got big grippy rear tyres, it's got weight. All of these things may well help even things out a bit. So we're going to do 5 laps. The first lap is an out lap and will not be timed, and then the subsequent 5 laps you'll hear the lap times as it goes through being called out over the loudspeaker. So let's give this a go. Okay, so there you have it. We did a best lap there of 6.83 and the average lap of 6.93. So not bad, not as good as our Jaguar XJ8, although I wouldn't expect in real life, the one-to-one cars, I wouldn't expect this to be as quick as that car. That was more of a race pedigree car in my opinion, however I could be completely wrong on that. But yeah, overall I like this car, love the lights, I'll put those in the video for you so you can see them. Love the interior detail, loving that engine there through that rear window, loving the driver and the co-driver. Shame it's not got all the you know, racing decals on there, but there is another car available as we saw earlier on, so you could go and buy that one instead. But yeah, overall I like this car. It needed to be raced with like for like, but yeah, quite drivable, quite smooth, very good experience, so gets a thumbs up from me. All right, if you like this sort of stuff, you want to see more, please do subscribe. I'll be releasing more videos over the coming weeks and months, so you can get involved and see what I have to say and see how those cars perform on the track. Thank you very much and goodbye.